Hey everybody, it's the Board Game Blogger. Today we're here to look at Field of Glory. This is a fun little card game put out by Martin Wallace and Treefrog called Field of Glory, the card game. So he's, I think, taken basically a tabletop miniature system and put it into a card game format. It's set in the Second Punic War, and you've kind of got the game I compare most to is kind of Battle Line. And so you've kind of got your line here, and you're playing your armies onto the different sectors of the board, trying to gain control. So you're dominating the battlefield and win the battle. There is a card drafting aspect initially. Both players have identical decks of 48 cards, and you're going to draft 24 of them. So highly replayable, because you're going to deal yourself 4, keep 2, discard 2, and that gets your army for the battle. So a lot of replayability here. It's not going to be it's always this is the best move. I mean, obviously what you draw in your hand is going to be different each game, but also what you can potentially draw into your hand is going to be different each game based on the drafting. So I kind of like that. If you want to just play quickly, I guess you could just randomly deal 24 cards if you really wanted to cut out the card drafting. But even with the card drafting aspect, the game's not that long. I think if you really wanted to shorten it down, just to play on your lunch break, to guarantee I can do this in 30 minutes, you can eliminate the card drafting. It's not in the rules or anything, but it's my personal suggestion. Rulebook's well done. I think I've criticized Martin in the past for some poor rulebooks, but generally this is pretty good. There's examples that are clear and concise for things that seemed kind of odd, and it's a solid rulebook. The card quality is good. These are the terrain, and so there's each game you're only going to have kind of 5 terrain, but there is 9. So again, that's variable. Ton of replayability. I really like it, and it's good quality art. It's beautiful. It's wonderful Peter Dennis art. My one complaint with the game is there are no player aids, and I mean there are just blank white cards that came in the game. So clearly to get there into the card count with the manufacturer, they had some extra cards, and they could have put player aids, for how the game works in the turn order. I mean, it's here in the rule book. There's a victory check, there's the advance, flank attacks, your player actions, draw cards. Could easily have put these on player aids, explained what the different player actions were. And a lot of his more recent games have, really good player aids. So, the Few Acres of Snow, excellent player aid in that game. So, you didn't need a big thing. You could have just put it on a card. So I'm kind of disappointed they didn't do that. But the game's excellent. I compare it to Battle Line a lot. Battle Line is more, it's, poker. This is more, kind of a war game in Battle Line. So, that concept, it's cut down to 5 terrain. A lot of it's, just the hand management of your cards, definitely. That's always a key aspect in a card game. But, it's more of a feel like you're actually fighting. Whereas, Battle Line, you're just kind of playing poker, really. I like it. It's a very fun, quick game. Plays quick. It's a great, filler, while you're waiting for other people. A good end of the night game. And I highly recommend it. But why don't we take a look at how it plays? So this is the game sort of on setup. You're going to have 2 opposing players sitting across from each other. We've set up, random draw the sort of battle terrain that we're starting with. We have 1 rough terrain and 4 plains. Now, you win the game in one of two ways. If you control 3 sections of the battlefield at the victory check condition, you'll win. Or if basically it gets to nightfall, the person who's eliminated the most valuable of the opponent's military will win. So we have here this rough terrain. You have to pay an extra command point to place units there, just because it is in the rough. The plains are just normal. So we start. You're going to have a hand size you start with of 9, and you have cards that do different things, and I'll kind of explain the card here. So this here is a pike. Now we have here the movement cost. This is the cost to place it down. It costs 5. Now 4 here, that's the combat value. How well he'll do in fighting. You've got command points. This is useful when a battle, when the fighting takes place, and to place it down. So in order to place down this pikeman, you need to play other cards that equal 5 on the movement cost. So I could, for instance, play these 2 cards, because I have a 2 and a 4, in order to play down the pikeman. And it's exceeding the cost. We have 3 here. That means there's 3 in the total deck. That's the undrafted deck of 48 cards. Obviously not the drafted down to 24. And this is worth 2 victory points. So if my opponent defeats me, he's going to put this over in his pile, and we know he's got 2 victory points if no one actually controls the terrain and is able to win a victory prior to nightfall. And then here's sort of the special ability he has, which is +1 if there's 2 pike units in the same column. So the way the turn order works is, first is on your turn you check, see if you've won. So if you're controlling 3 sections of the terrain at the beginning of your turn, you win. After you do the victory check, you then advance, and you will gain control. So if, for instance, I had a guy here, and there's no opposing units on the other side, then I'm going to gain control, and it will flip over to show I'm in control. Again, that happens after the victory check. So, pretty key order. Then what happens are any flank attacks. So, in order to do a flank attack, I would need to have a unit in the adjacent flank, and then that next column along the flanking column has no enemy units or is beyond the edge of battle. So in the adjacent column, there's no enemy units, and there's no enemy units in the further along column. I can also flank from here because there's no possible enemy units on that other adjacent side. So a flank attack would then happen, which obviously give you a tremendous advantage in a flank attack. After that's done, it's then going to your player actions, where you can place units or you can attack. Now obviously in the very first turn, there's no opposing units to attack. So I'll play through around here for both players. So the player here, he wants to place down his pikemen, and he's going to actually put him in the rough, because remember the roughs thing was it cost an extra combat unit to pay for him, and he's spending 6 command points. So the additional command point is paid for. Kind of put it over here in this discard. They're going to be reshuffled because they haven't been killed. And now it's back to the blue player. Now he can do as many actions as he wants. Can keep placing units, can keep attacking. There's a special card which is a reserve card I could play to instantly draw more cards in my hand. Or if I'm choosing not to, so for instance, I think I could choose to not play any more cards, but it makes sense to play some more right now here. So it's going to For instance, if I wanted to, I can place this, and this is heavy infantry. As we can see, I cannot place him with the pike unit. You can place up to 2 units in a particular column, but they have to be the same unit with a few exceptions. So for instance, light infantry and elephants can combine, it says here, may combine with elephants. So they can be combined, and also archers can be combined with any other unit. So we have here a command value of 6. You know, it can place them down and pay for these 2 cards, because we've got a 4 and a 2. So those will be paid for. We only have 2 left in our hand. I'm just going to basically end the turn, and on the end of the turn, with your draw cards, you draw 3 cards up. So it's 1, 2, 3. Now these command values are really important, because when a battle happens, that's sort of how a battle occurs. So it will go now over to the opposing player. So the opposing player, you know, does victory check, and it only checks if he wins. So for instance, if the blue player had another there, and they were all controlled by him, it still wouldn't matter, because the red player is going to have a chance to sort of take it back. So the red player here, this is his hand. He's going to, so we did the victory check. It's not going to apply. Advancing is not going to apply, and flank attacks aren't going to apply. So what he's going to do first is he's going to place down elephants and a light infantry, and he wants to put them in the rough. However, you have to pay an extra CP to place a unit, so it's going to cost 2 more. So it's actually going to cost him 8, because this is going to turn into 6, this is going to turn into 2. But you know, he's going to sort of try it there, and he will pay for the cost here with 8. So that gets placed down, and can put down for free this light cavalry. It's 0, so it's not going to have to pay a card for that. And now he's going to actually choose to attack. So when you do an attack, you need to sort of assign which unit is the leading unit. So here we can see that the elephant, he's got 5 strength to just 1 strength in combat for the light infantry. So obviously we're going to keep the elephant as the lead unit. That's designated. If the blue player had multiple in the area, he would, designate another unit. And then you would apply any special abilities here. We can see the elephant's -4 versus light infantry. He's not attacking any light infantry, so that's not going to apply. And we total up the command values, and then the red player will assign a card from their hand for the command value here. So they can assign a card, or they can randomly draw. So red is going to randomly draw, and then the blue player will assign his. He's got a 4 here, which is kind of high. The highest is a 5, so he's going to do that. He's going to assign a 4. Now we both flip and we total. So the red player drew a 5. So they have a 5 default for the elephant. Gets an additional 1 because there's 2 units in the column. He's now at 6. We then have any combat modifiers that would apply in the terrain. Doesn't apply in the rough. And then we have the command value of the card played. The bonus card here was 5. I got a lucky draw. So we have 6 plus 5 is 11 to the opponent's 4 for the combat value of 4, and then the command bonus of 4, 8. So he's defeated. He's going to go over into the opponent's side, and we see the 2 here for the value. That's going to be worth 2 victory points at the end of the game if the game ends via nightfall and no one actually dominates the battlefield by controlling 3. Because the attacker won, he's going to now take control of the rough terrain. So he now controls that. And you know, certain terrains are going to give you a bonus if you're controlling it, like hills, for instance. And then the red player could, for instance, continue to play some cards, but he's going to simply just draw 3, sort of end his turn. It's back to the blue player, does a victory check. It's not winning. Because he's unopposed here, he's going to advance, control there. Would do a flank attack, but he doesn't have any units to flank anywhere. And then goes into sort of the main phase of playing cards or attacking. That's sort of how the game works. Victory in one of 2 ways. You either control the battlefield, or you've got the most victory points at nightfall, which is going through your deck and shuffling it twice. Once both players have shuffled it twice, it's nightfall, and you just simply count up the victory points of the enemy units you've killed. And as you can see, some units, you know, they're not worth any victory points. It's not, you know, a great feat to eliminate your opponent's light infantry. So that's the game. I really like it. It's got what I like of alternate win conditions. Of you can either control the battlefield for the outright victory, or you can be just, you know, sort of just killing your opponent's units, bleeding them white. So it's really good. You've got tons of replayability. It's you know, about hand management. There's some luck involved with drawing the right cards at the right time. You know, especially you know, you can mitigate it because you can always keep a card in your hand. You know, you could keep one of those commanders in your hand that are worth 5 to play for a battle, or you can, you know, just randomly draw from the top. I like that aspect, that, you know, there's luck that you can choose to mitigate or not. Plays quick. You know, it's that, you know, battle line feel, but it's like actually more of a, you know, game than just poker. I highly recommend it. Pick up a copy if you find it and you like 2-player game in under an hour. Till next time, I'm the Board Game Blogger.